let's get to it. Here goes. So, say hi to YouTube chat. So what we're doing with this, I'm going to go through these. It's my first time looking at them. This is Ravnica, the new set coming out. I'm going to be looking at it almost entirely from a sealed perspective, or excuse me, from a limited perspective, right? So I haven't done a lot of sealed draft. That's going to be a little bit harder for me to evaluate. So this is mostly going to be looking at it from basically a draft perspective. So I'll be looking at these cards as how I see their power level in a limited format like drafting. I'm going to just throw it out there right now. Only been playing Magic for a couple months. Doing well, having a lot of fun with it. Have played it a lot in a couple months, but my opinions are going to be my opinions. It would kind of be fun to see how far off or on I am with these. So we're going to go through each of the cards quickly if we can. And this is again my first look at it, so we'll see how long we can do this for. Okay, so this is one of the new effects coming in is Mentor, right? Whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power. 3 for a 3/1. It's pretty bad stats for the cost, but that ability is quite strong. That looks aggro-ish. I imagine if aggro is dominant, as in if there aren't enough cards that do quick damage or small combat tricks like fungal infection or deal 1 damage on coming in, that's going to be a very strong ability and take over very quickly. 3/1 for 3 is not very good stats again, but it's going to trade up. So attacking with it's fine. And if you attack with it and get to put a counter on another one of your creatures as you're doing it, pretty strong. All right. Bounty Agent. What does this card do? 2 for a 2/2 Vigilance. Sacrifice Bounty Agent. Destroy target legendary permanent that's an artifact, creature, or enchantment. I mean, it's a Grizzly Bear. 2 for a 2/2 is quite good. Are these rares too? That's a rare. 2 for a 2/2 that has an additional upside of anything is good. Vigilance in particular is okay, but the second ability is really good. It depends again on the prevalence of things like legendary permanents. So I don't know how many there are in this set, but that ability on paper looks pretty strong to me right off the bat. I'm not sure it's like grab it as like a powerhouse, but it's going to be a pretty nice mid to late pick, and a lot higher if there are a ton of these targets available to it. Pretty good though. 4 for a enchantment aura. Enchant creature gets 3/2 in vigilance. Less excited about that. First strike is a lot more annoying to deal with than vigilance. Vigilance lets you block, but so what? This looks like a very bad Sarah's Wings or a similar in power dub perhaps. This card looks kind of bad to me. Citywide Bust. 2 white, 1 other. Destroy all creatures with toughness 4 or greater. That's cool. You can definitely build around that. It's a rare, thankfully. Any sort of targeted Wrath of God effects are going to be really strong. This is great. You might not have a lot of games with like looking at this. It looks like if Mentor is going to be one of the prevailing things of this set, you may not find a lot of targets with this, but you can definitely build your deck so it's not hitting your stuff. And the fact you get to have this, especially as a surprise with a rare, this card is going to be situationally very powerful. I think worth drafting pretty well unless there aren't enough targets in the set, and we won't know that till I look at more of the cards in the set. Color of the Culprit. 4 for an instant. Destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater. Less good. It's funny. I think this will see more play and be more useful because there aren't going to be a ton of creatures with toughness 4 or greater unless the set has a lot of weird ones in it. But I think the effect is less powerful. It's 1 mana more. It is an instant, but it's just a single one. I think it will see play. This will be probably a pretty good sideboard card, like Pierce the Sky, but not great, I don't think. Again, depends on the kind of average toughness of the creatures we're seeing. Conclave Tribunal. 4 for an enchantment. What's Convoke do? Your creatures can help cast a spell. Each creature you tap while casting a spell pays for 1 of its mana. Okay. When it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. So it's like a seal away. Doesn't require the opponent to be tapped. You can help with creatures. That's going to be good. This is removal. Depends how much enchantment there hate is, but enchantment hate there is, but this immediately looks fairly good to me. Any of the removal, the targeted removal spells are good, and exile from the battlefield beats the hell out of like Luminous Bond's pacify style effects. So the fact this costs 4 is a little bit annoying, but you're being able to play a little bit of tempo to do that. It's pretty good. I think that will be fairly good. Crush Contraband. 4 for an instant. Choose 1 to exile target artifact or enchantment. Sideboard card. Maybe main deck. It looks worse than Invoke the Divine to me. It's exile instead of destroy, but so what? Most of the times artifacts and enchantments aren't recurring. It doesn't heal you, which is a big deal for running that main deck. A lot of times it helped you against tempo stuff. This looks like a worse Invoke the Divine to me. It's probably still going to be very playable. If there's a bunch of strong enchantments and artifacts, like it looks like there might be, this is going to be very playable as either sideboard hate or even main deck. Donna Hope. 2 for an enchantment. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. Create a 1/1 white creature token with lifelink. That's strong. Easy to get down on 2 mana enchantment, so you can fit that into your curve. A little bit tricky to draw the cards, but if you get stalled in the mid game, like where you just have a bunch of mana and you're flooding, like creating 1/1 tokens is really good. That's one of the things Slimefoot does to take over the game. And these are 1/1 life linking tokens that you can use to draw a card. That's pretty damn good. That's going to be really solid. Depends if the format, how fast the format is, whether or not this will be really good or just kind of okay. If the format's too fast, this is slow, this process, but the process is very card efficient. You're going to get a lot of advantage from being able to do something like that. Not only in just generating enough white tokens to hold people back or to chump block, but also to draw cards off that. It's great. Demotion. It's all instant speed too, which is really, really solid. Demotion. Enchant creature can't block and its activated abilities can't be activated. Sounds weak to me initially. It can still attack. It depends on how many cards there are in this. I'm comparing immediately to Dominaria, where you have cards like Ariel and Slimefoot, Whisper, these creatures that sit back that rarely enter combat and do very, very powerful things. Then this might be good if there's a lot of those. But my initial read on this is going to be garbage. There's going to be too many targets where it's just never worth casting, especially for the cost of a card. Divine Visitation, another rare for 5 as an enchantment. If one or more of your creature tokens would be created under your control, that many 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying and vigilance are created instead. 5 for an enchantment that in of itself does nothing is super weak. However, 4/4 angel tokens are pretty goddamn good flying vigilant creatures. So this is going to entirely depend on synergies. So probably an early pick if there's enough synergies in the set to run away with this, but it's slow. So again, it's going to depend on the tempo of the set, and it's going to depend on the synergies available to it. My initial read is it's probably too slow to do anything, but maybe there's something to be done with it if there's enough synergies. So it doesn't look great to me. Flight of Equinauts, 8 for a 4/5 flyer that has Convoke. That looks bad. 4/5 flyers are very solid stats. They're very difficult to deal with. It's much better than a 3/4 flyer. Well, with the removal in the sets I'm looking at, maybe not in this set. I guess I don't really know how the damage removal stacks up versus the direct target. This seems very expensive. Depends if you have enough tokens. Again, this is going to depend on the synergies around it. If there's a ton of token generation and you can get this out with like a 4 or a 3 or a 5 cost card, then a 4/5 flyer for 5 or a 4/5 flyer for 3 is really good. It's going to depend entirely on token generation though. All right, Gird for Battle. 1 white sorcery, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures as a sorcery. That looks like shit to me. I guess if mentoring is super prevalent and you have a ton of mentoring, this maybe is kind of like win more for your creatures. It certainly makes blocking difficult. It's maybe a format that doesn't favor blocking. We'll find out. But this looks really weak to me to begin with. If this were an instant speed, I still don't think it'd be that great. The card looks bad to me. I see chat is telling me different things. As I said, guys, this is going to be my opinion and my first look at these cards. So I'll be interested to see in like a month or so or 2 months how this plays out for my predictions versus how things are. So we could chat about it after. I don't think I'm going to argue for it here, though. I think it will make the actual episode of getting through this way too long. It's already going to be pretty long. Hazda Marshal, 1 for a 1/1. Whenever Hazda Marshal and at least 2 other creatures attack, create a 1/1 white soldier token with lifelink. Sounds bad. Depends how fast it is. If you're regularly playing 1-drops and 1-drops trade either equal or sometimes up against 2/1s, then this creature is playable. If you're regularly in format where like 1/3s and 2/3s are bread and butter, like right now Dominaria, this card becomes terrible. It doesn't look very good to me. I suspect it's garbage. Healer's Hawk, 1 for a 1/1 flying lifelink. Meh, not interested at all. I don't care about this. I guess if you're racing, again, depends how heavy aggro it is. If this format is just insanely aggro, then this card becomes okay because it lets you race a little bit better. But it looks terrible to me. Hunted Witness, 1 for a 1/1. When it dies, create a 1/1 white soldier token with lifelink. It's a little bit better. You can chump block with it. Still seems garbage to me. Don't think I'd play that either. But getting a second one, I don't think so. All right. I think none of these are playable from my read right now, but it depends how fast the format is. Inspiring Unicorn, 4 for a 2/2. Whenever Inspiring Unicorn attacks, creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. That includes itself. So it's a 3/3 when it's attacking for 4 that boosts all your creatures. That seems very good. And that gets better the more token generation there is and the more combat tricks you can run to support this. This card looks great. Yep, there's a good point in chat that 1/1s are mentor targets. That's fair. If you can buff these up quickly, that might be good enough. That's true. Particularly Healer's Hawk might be a good one for Mentor because it already has evasive. Maybe I need to reevaluate that in the light of how common mentoring is, because the fact it's evasive means it often becomes very quickly a 2/2 or maybe even a 3/3 lifelinker off mentoring, which is actually a real threat in the air. The 1/1 isn't. Wasn't thinking about that growing. Could be correct. Could be correct about that. 5 for a 3/3 vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, tap up to 2 target creatures your opponent's controls. My immediate take on this is this is pretty bad. It's pretty slow. You're only going to tempo this if you're already on the aggression and winning off this. It's just a 1-turn tap effect too. Card looks bad to me, but it would depend. It just looks bad to me. I don't think so. I guess tapping blockers is pretty strong, but still feels pretty bad. 5 is a lot for that. Ledev Guardian, 4 for a 2/4 Convoke. Ew. 4 for a 2/4 is okay stats, I guess. Convoke makes it cheaper, so maybe sometimes you're dropping a 2/4 on 3. It's pretty anti-aggro. It might be good enough in slower decks to actually stall the board. I don't think that's bad. That could be decent. Light of the Legion, 6 for a 5/5 Flying Mentor. When Light of the Legion dies, put a +1/+1 counter on each white creature you control. That's a bomb. 6 for a 5/5 Flyer that does anything is good. And this has 2 effects that are likely going to trigger. It's always going to Mentor, because it's 5/5 and there's going to be smaller targets, and has a on death effect, so you can't even reduce its impact by just immediately killing it. It still does something. This card's great. Light of Legion's going to be very strong. Loxodon Restorer, 6 for a 3/4 Convoke. When it enters the battlefield, gain 4 life. If this is a super aggro format, this might be one of the cards that helps you stabilize. 6 is a lot, and if you're blocking, Convoke is not very good because you need your creatures. I actually think this card's pretty bad in that light. If you're racing, you're attacking with the creatures, you can't tap them. If you're blocking, you need them for blocking, you can't tap them. So oftentimes this is 6 for a 3/4. That looks terrible to me. I don't think that's going to be very good at all. Luminous Bonds, great removal spell, dirt cheap, common, seems good. Depends how much enchantment their hate is. This is already boosting up the impact of the fact that Luminous Bonds is a common in this set, and we've already seen another enchantment-based removal. Makes you start to think about enchantment hate being a little bit better. Parhelion Patrol, 4 for a 2/3 Flying Vigilance Mentor. It's not bad. 4 for a 2/3 is a little bit expensive, and 2 is not very high power, but Vigilance is great on a flying attacker. And Mentor on this is a little bit weak because you're only going to get 1/1s, but maybe make those 1/1s a little bit better, I guess. If you can buff this card with like equipment, then this card becomes extremely powerful. If you like I'm just thinking like a Jousting Lance on this. I don't know what artifacts are in this set yet, but like a Jousting Lance on this card would be insane. Righteous Blow deals 2 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. This is good if the format is super fast. If there are lots of targets, if two health minions are readily available, this card is really good because it's high tempo and high impact. But you don't want it if it's just a card that ends up 2 for 1ing where you block and Righteous Blow. Card's not very good. I guess I'm comparing it to the Ixalan card right now and thinking it's probably pretty decent if it's like Ixalan speed drafting. Rock Charger, 3 for a 1/3 flying. So this is a Pegasus Courser. Coursers are good. Good card. Okay. Skyline Scout, 2 for a 2/1. When it attacks, you may pay 2. If you do, it gains flying to end of turn. Bit slow. Not super excited about it. I guess if you're racing, it's a little bit of an evasive push. It's probably playable. I wouldn't give it too high of a priority unless there's nothing that deals 1 damage easily. Sunhome Stalwart, 2 for a 2/2 First Strike Mentor. I like 2/2 First Strikers for 2. I think that's strong. I don't think Mentor is going to be very strong on him, but I think 2 for a 2/2 First Strikers are pretty damn good stats. I think this card is going to be very good. And actually, mentoring makes this card super annoying. If you can find mentors that regularly can buff this guy, buffing first strike cards with extra power is absolutely ridiculously good for tempo. Sworn Companions, 3 for a 2/2. Create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink. This doesn't seem very strong to me. Seems kind of weak and kind of slow. It's not an instant. If this were an instant, you could do it as a blocker as a trick, maybe, but this doesn't seem very good. I guess white lifelink tokens are more valuable in a set where you can buff them easily. So maybe there's something to be said about that having synergies with mentor effects. So maybe if you have a mentor heavy deck, Sworn Companions becomes better. I don't know. For example, if you attack with a 3/1 and a 2/1 that both have mentor, and then you attack with 2 1/1s, can you buff them twice? So I guess we'll have to see how the mentor interactions interact. Are you able to like put multiple +1/+1 counters in a turn? because then they could be really sick to have a bunch of little white 1/1 white dudes. Take heart. Instant target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. You gain 1 life for each attacking creature you control. I hate this card already. 2/2. I mean, it looks good. It looks very good. It looks like it's going to be an aggro boosting card. 2/2 is generally enough to to make this into a 1/1. It generally means the creature that you're buffing survives, as well as the creature that you're buffing against dies. So you trade Take Heart for that creature. You're trading a 1-drop, 1-cost spell that gives you a ton of tempo, and it also gives you life if you're rushing them down, so they can't counterattack as much. So far, the set looks terrible for blocking. Looks like it's going to be a lot of all-in attacks all the fucking time. So, yeah. Card looks strong. 10th District Guard, 2 for a 2/2. Enters the battlefield, target creature gets +0/+1 till end of turn. Seems garbage to me. This is not very much health, and or very much toughness, and it's not at instant speed. Seems pretty weak. It's better than a raw grizzly, but so far I haven't seen any raw grizzlies at all. All the white creatures that have been 2 for 2/2 have had some powerful effect attached to them. So grizzlies just might be very, very bad in this format. So this card doesn't look that good to me. Venerated Luxodon, 5/4/4/4 Convoke. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that convoked it. That seems strong. If you're generating tokens, buffing them is good. It's a rare. I think you could build around that. Card seems good to me. All right, so white cards, not really giving you ratings, just looking at the relative strength of them. Seem pretty strong to me. At the moment, the white, well, at least the white decks look very tempo oriented. See how it happens.